Hey yo, what's up everybody? It's B Milton. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host here on the Redskins review. And first things first, I'm sorry for not getting my draft review video out there sooner. I've been doing a lot of work over on my other channel, on the B Milton channel, doing a lot of gaming and stuff over there. So if you're interested in that, check that out. But first things first, man, before we get into all of our draft picks, we need to go over something and beat the dead horse one more time. If you guys watched the draft like I did, everyone knows the big shocker, the shockers in the first round of the draft, and it was the quarterbacks that were taken in the first round, and what everyone gave up to get those quarterbacks. The Bears gave up so much stuff to get a quarterback with the number 2 pick in the draft. And this is a guy who went on Gruden's QB camp or whatever, and the dude didn't even know what a hard count is. John Gruden had to explain to him, Mitch Trubisky, what a hard count is. And this is a guy who the Bears just gave up their future for to get in the number 2 slot. A guy who only played 1 year in college. Now, what does this mean? Pay Kirk Cousins his goddamn money. Pay Kirk Cousins the money that he earned, because if we don't, we're going to be just like all these other teams, reaching for quarterbacks in the first round. All these quarterbacks, only Watson was the only one who was projected to go in the first round. But not even that. All the scouts, everyone even agreed that none of these quarterbacks are NFL ready, and none of these guys deserve a first round pick. They're not. Their talent does not match a first round pick. But the thing is, the market dictates you need a quarterback, and these teams are giving away their future to go up and move up in the first round and draft these quarterbacks who do not have first round talent. Because why? Because they need a quarterback. Pay Kirk Cousins. We're going to look like the Bears. We're going to look like these teams reaching for these quarterbacks if we don't pay Kirk Cousins. Is Kirk Cousins perfect? No, but he's better than average. He's a good NFL quarterback who has a big ceiling. He's only been in this system. He's only been a starter for a couple years. Who knows what he can do? Pay the man his damn money, all right? So that's the first and the biggest thing I learned in this draft. Pay Kirk Cousins his goddamn money. Pay him. We need him. Or we're going to look like these teams out here. We're going to look like the Bears, giving up everything we got to go get a quarterback who's not NFL ready, who has not played. These quarterbacks don't even play in a pro-style offense. They're going to be getting thrown into the NFL, and they're not going to. It's going to be hard for them to succeed. Not all of them are going to have Ezekiel Elliott to handle all the work and make Dak Prescott look good. So we need to pay Kirk Cousins his money. Also, I'm actually really glad. Something I thought that was going to happen. Something I thought that was going to happen in this draft, because we had 10 picks. I thought we were going to do something stupid, which I think is stupid, and we were going to draft a quarterback. Not saying just the first round, but I thought we might draft a quarterback in a later round or whatever, which I think that would be a really stupid move, because we just spent a late round draft pick on Nate Sudfeld last year. So it's I'm glad we didn't do this, because if we went and we got another quarterback to come in, it's well then what the hell did we pick Nate Sudfeld for if we're gonna go get a quarterback in this draft? You know what I mean? You're basically just saying Nate Sudfeld is shit and we shouldn't have spent that pick on him or whatever. So I'm glad we didn't do anything dumb. I think all Redskins fans, and I think most of the vid makers and everything, we all agree that this is a really good draft, and I'm pretty happy with the draft. You guys know I'm an optimist. You guys know that I like to, I like to put a positive spin on things, and I think we did have a really good draft. I think we got a lot of defensive help. I think we improved our team through the draft, but there's still 2 things that I'm sitting here with question marks. I'm sitting here going, maybe we shouldn't get too rah-rah happy yet, because A, we drafted a lot of guys who have injuries. Now, there's a lot of guys who you know, if you played in college football, I'm sure almost everyone has accrued an injury. I'm sure everyone who's played through injuries and everything like that. I'm not saying that drafting players that are injured is bad, but I'm just saying I think a lot of people are overlooking, you know, that some of these guys, they do have injury histories, they do have injury problems. We cannot overlook this. It's a serious matter, and we're hoping for the best, but we can't ignore the fact that we did draft some injured players. And I'm not even necessarily talking about the Fabien Moreau injury. I think Fabien Moreau can come back from that injury. I'm not really talking necessarily about Fabien Moreau. I'm talking about just all the other guys that we got that have previous injury history and they're injured right now. You know, we cannot overlook that, man. I think everyone's happy with the players that we got. The players that we got when healthy are really good players, but we do have some injuries racked up right now, so we cannot overlook that. Number two, the second reason why I'm not going to get extremely joyful here about our draft is because it was around this time last year where we sat here and we said, you know what? We don't really have a nose tackle. We don't really have a guy who's big enough, who's powerful enough to play, to be a true nose tackle and play the nose tackle position for us. And you know, what did we all do last year? Oh, don't worry, we'll find a guy. Someone will fill it in. Someone will fill in. You know, don't worry. We only need a true nose tackle, a few limited snaps in a game. Don't worry. We don't. You know, we'll train someone to do it. We'll get someone to play that. So we have some hybrid players, some guys who can step in and fill in that role in the time that we need. Bullshit, man. We didn't fix the one glaring need. We did get defensive line help, but we don't have a true nose tackle. We did not get one in the draft, and we did not get one in free agency. I don't think we have anyone who can play the position effectively. How are we going to stop the run? We're still, like, as much help as we got on defense through the draft, and as much everything, all our draft went well, and we got some help in free agency. I just don't see us fixing some of the glaring issues that this team has. Stopping the run. We don't have a nose tackle. We don't have a true nose tackle, and there's a lot of teams out there who are saying, "Oh well, we'll just hybrid it. We're not going to play those. We're not going to play. We don't need a true nose tackle except for a certain limited number of snaps a game." Bullshit, man. We're playing against teams like the Cowboys who are going to run the goddamn ball. We need to stop the run, and I think that's something that we overlooked, and I think a lot of people are being super happy about this draft, and there's reasons to be happy, but I'm still just sitting here looking at we're making some of the same mistakes. Like, as much as I love some of the draft picks that we got, like, some of these picks are great, but we still overlooked some of the glaring issues that we have. And I'll get into some more issues that we have that I don't think we necessarily filled in the draft. So let's get into it. The first pick overall, Jonathan Allen. You all know, I don't need to explain to you guys anything about Jonathan Allen. If you didn't know who he was before, and I'm sure you did some research, I'm sure you know who he is now. He's pretty much a really good draft pick for us. We basically stole him. There's a lot of people saying, oh, well, Jonathan Allen, he fell in the draft because of his shoulder issues and shit like that. Bullshit. Jonathan Allen was a great pick for us because Allen, he didn't get the injuries. He didn't get his shoulder injuries after he stopped playing football in college. He got those injuries while he was in college. And guess what? He still performed with those injuries and was beast, all right? So, there's a lot of people, especially other teams, like there's some Ravens fans that I know that are like, oh, the reason we passed on him is because he's got shoulder injuries. Bullshit. He played through those injuries and he played well. And yet again, going back to the quarterback situation, why did we get Jonathan Allen, a guy who was supposed to be some people had like the second best player. Some people said he's going to be a top 5 pick for sure. Why did we get Jonathan Allen? Why did we get him? Because dumb teams are giving up their future and moving up in the draft and drafting quarterbacks because they need a quarterback. Even though the guy that they're investing in the draft, these guys aren't NFL ready. They're just not NFL ready. They're great. They do not deserve the pick that they're getting. But what happens? The market dictates that these people need a quarterback. It's their glaring need. That's what they need the most. So that's what they're willing to give up all this shit to go get a quarterback. The market dictated that. The market is dictating us to pay Kirk Cousins. We need him, man. Pay him the goddamn money. So that's why Jonathan Allen and also some of the other wide receivers. There was a few wide receivers who were late first-round draft picks that actually ended up being higher above our 17th pick. That's why Jonathan Allen fell to us. Great pick. We need a guy like him, a really smart player. I watched a lot of interviews with him. He's a man. Like this guy is. He might be pretty young or whatever, but this is a man. All right, this guy. He not only is he a beast of a man when he plays football, but when you hear him talk, he's a grown-ass man at the age that he is. I don't know, I forget what age he is, but I'm sure he's younger than me. And this is a grown-ass man at that age, a really mature guy. He knows what he needs to do, and I love the pick. I'm sure you guys do too. But everyone, I don't need to say anything more about Jonathan Allen. We all know. Let's move on to the second pick, which is Ryan Anderson, outside linebacker, also from Alabama. Now, the first thing I have to say about Ryan Anderson is he screams Preston Smith to me. This is a guy who is not explosive. In his highlights I've watched, he just doesn't seem explosive. I mean, he might have a high motor and he might not give up on plays, and he seems smart. He's a really smart guy. He was coached very well. That's what makes this a safe pick because he came from Alabama. He was coached. He's coached well. He played well. But how much is that of a product of being of that Alabama defense? Hiding some of his weaknesses, which is him not being very explosive. And I feel like there's some explosive players that we could have taken there with the second-round draft pick at the same position. Now, this is the other thing that has me, a little upset about this pick is that this is a pick that we did. We forced this pick. A lot of people think Ryan Anderson would have been there in the third round if we wanted to take him in the third round, but we forced this pick. And do you know why we forced the pick? We did it because good old Trent Murphy is suspended for 4 games. So we said, hey, we need someone else. We need another outside linebacker. And hey, we don't have anyone to jump in there and compete right now because Trent Murphy is suspended for 4 games. So we reached a little bit to get Ryan Anderson. It's not extreme. It's not a bad pick. I think Ryan Anderson is a smart player. I think he's got a lot going for him, but I just don't see the explosiveness. I see him being a Preston Smith where he's good maybe versus the run. The guy, he's a big guy. That's that he's gonna stop. He's gonna help stop the run. He's gonna help clog up the holes and stop the run. Man, he's going to be able to do that. But it's in passing situations, he's not that fast. He's another Preston Smith to me, and there was more explosive guys. I don't dislike Ryan Anderson as a player, but I just feel like with the second overall draft pick, there was more out there for us to get. And this is also where I'm going to segment into this, where I was campaigning for this before we in the draft. I campaigned for this before. I wanted Budda Baker really badly in the second round. Now, normally you would never hear me say, oh, we have 10 picks, let's trade up and get a player that we want. I never normally would like that. I would never like to do that normally, but I think Budda Baker would really add competition, real competition to our safety position, which is another glaring need. We have a bunch of needs on defense, but what do we desperately need? We need defensive line help. We need a true middle linebacker. We have some good linebackers, but we need a true middle linebacker, and we need safeties, man. We need some competition at safety. I think the two safeties that we drafted later on in this draft, I think they're pretty much. I just don't see. I don't see what we saw in them, and I think that those guys are straight up. They're going to be special teamers. We drafted guys with height, weight, speed. The other two safeties that we drafted, we got them for height, weight, speed because looking at their tape and shit, I don't see what the hell we even drafted them for, man. Besides filling the role, filling a need of special teamers, guys who can come in and fill in special teams, and hey, maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe that's the thing is maybe they'll surprise us. But if we traded those two goddamn picks that we got these two safeties who I'm not high on at all from watching a lot of stuff about them. I don't really want any part of these guys. And we could have traded those two picks and swapped our second round pick, or traded one of those picks and maybe a pick next year and moved up in the second round and secured Budda Baker. And let's say this. This is now what I'm about to say is a little bit biased and pretty much unfair, but I'm just sitting here thinking about how bad the safety position has been for us for so long. And I like our draft. Like, I know this is coming off somewhat negative, but I like our draft. But I'm just going to nitpick a little bit here and say instead of getting those two safeties that we got, we trade those picks. We use these picks to move up, and we secure Budda Baker in the second round, all right? So instead of having Ryan Anderson, outside linebacker that we could have probably found in the third round or another round, we go up and we get Budda Baker to come in and compete with Sua Cravens, DJ Swearinger, DeShazer Everett, he went and trained with Ryan Clark on the offseason. I think DeShazer Everett has a lot of potential. So we have Budda Baker, Sua Cravens, DJ Swearinger, DeShazer Everett, Will Blackman, and if this is where it's going to get unfair, but if we could just throw in Kaishan Jarrett, I understand he's hurt and that's the past or whatever, but if we had Kaishan Jarrett, Sua Cravens, Budda Baker, DJ Swearinger, how are you going to tell me our safety position is fucking weak? That's man, we would be well off. That would be the shit if we had these players. Now, obviously, like I said, me throwing in Kaishan Jarrett, that's just because I miss goddamn Kaishan Jarrett, man. He was a steal in that draft. He performed so well for us, and man, I just wish he could still play for us. But if we had those players, our safety position would be locked down. We would not have to be worrying. We would not have to be worrying about it, man. And I'm tired of worrying about the safety position. And you mix in a D'Angelo Hall. You have a veteran, D'Angelo Hall, and Will Blackman also. You throw them into the mix at safety with those players, Budda Baker and Sua Cravens out there on the field. Come on, man, we fixed it. We have legit competition at the safety position right now. We have two Preston Smiths sitting on our team, is what I'm saying. We could have gotten more value out of the second round, even trading up to get Budda Baker. And like I said, that's not something you would ever normally hear coming out of my mouth. I do not like trading up. I would always rather try to trade back and get more picks. That's the best philosophy. But we've gone too long. We've gone too long without competition at the safety position, and I don't think who we have right now, unless DeShazer Everett really does step up, I just don't see. I think we're still lacking at the safety position, and I think Budda Baker could have really fixed some holes for us. So enough on that. That's a total tangent rant, and I'm sorry, but I just had to nitpick that. And then we go to the third round, Fabien Moreau. I think a lot of people like this pick, and so do I. When I watch Fabien Moreau, watching his highlights and stuff, this man reminds me of like Pierre Garçon if he played corner. You know what I'm saying? Like Fabien Moreau might be skinnier and a little bit more lean, and he might have even though they're around the same size height wise, I think Fabien Moreau he just looks slimmer and taller, but he still has a good build to him. He's really physical. I like that, and he reminds me of his physicality reminds me of Bashaw Breeland. When Breeland balled out a couple years ago, that's what I see Fabien Moreau. That's what I see in him. And I really like the pick. I think his injury isn't that bad. I think he can come back from that. Being a corner, I think that's something that he can come back with. He didn't have anything wrong with his legs or whatever. He just tore his pec or whatever. Sure, it might hinder him. But I think either this year or he's going to be back by like training camp, I'm pretty sure this year. Even if it's not this year, next year, he's definitely going to be thrown in the mix. And I know there's going to be a lot of Redskins fans who say, oh, hey, now that we got Fabien Moreau, now that means Bashaw Breeland, he's going to be sitting on the bench. I don't think so, man. We cannot give up. I know I've said this a bunch of times too. We cannot give up on Breeland, man. We cannot. We've seen this man ball out. How can we give up on him just because he played one bad year now? He balled out before. We know he can do it. We know he can. We cannot keep doing the same old Redskins shit where we have these players who show us potential, but because our coaching ability is not that great, we're sitting here just watching our players walk, kicking players out, and then they go perform somewhere else. We cannot let Breeland be another one of those numbers. We cannot. Now, I do need to add that Breeland's been talking a lot of shit on Twitter or whatever. He runs his mouth a lot, which I personally do not care whatever a player does on their off season or whatever when they're not on the football field. But when they're on the football field, they need to produce, and he's got to produce, or he's basically backfiring on himself. This year, Breeland needs to show up, or he's making a hard case for him. But I just don't want Redskins fans sitting here saying, oh, now that we got Fabien Moreau, Breeland's a piece of shit, and he better be on the bench this year, yada yada yada. Not at all. Breeland is a guy I still have a lot of faith in, and I think he's going to show up, and I think he knows that he's in a contract year, and I think he knows that he needs, with all the shit that he's been talking, he needs to show up. But I love the Fabien Moreau pick. I think this is one of the biggest steal. A lot of people had this as one of the biggest steals in the draft. The guy is very physical. Even though he's like 6 foot or whatever, he's got good size. He looks leaner and taller than 6 foot when he's standing next to wide receivers and things like that. Love the pick. I'm sure a lot of you guys love that pick also. And then in the fourth round, another pick that I love, and Louis T, if you didn't see Louis T's breakdown of the draft, go watch that. But Louis T threw some knowledge on us, and he said, Samaje Perine, his name is not Samaje, it is Sam Aj, because his mother or his parents wanted the name Sam to be in his name, which then also, I'm going to change this here, because if your name is Sam Aj, because your parents want the name Sam in your name's Sam then, dude. Like, I'm calling you Sam Perine, or just Perine, alright? So I'm not going to do the whole Sam Aj, it's Sam, bro. If that's what your name is, Sam, then you're Sam. So Perine, man, like, I was, you guys know, I was okay with the idea of taking Dalvin Cook in the first round or something like that, but I love this pick. Perine, he's a physical runner. I don't see him coming in and stealing Rob Kelly's job. I've seen a lot of Redskins fans already sitting here saying, oh, now Rob Kelly, he's going to be on the back burner, and Perine, he's going to come in and, be the starter. I think Perine lacks the speed, the breakaway speed when he moves up to the NFL. He looked a little bit slow in college. He's a downhill runner. He still did outrun a lot of people. But I just think when you get to the NFL, I don't think he's going to be making those runaway touchdown runs. I just don't see that happening. But I do see him coming in and being our red zone back, goal in goal line or situations. I see him coming in and punching in the ball. This is yet another and here's another thing. All of our offensive picks in this draft scream Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden, I have a huge feeling that Jay Gruden had his hand on all of these offensive picks. He desperately chose who he wanted, and Perine is definitely one of these guys. You know why? Because What did our offense not do very well last year? Red zone. We had a bad red zone offense. And then it doesn't, now we come out and we get P. Ryan, who is a bulky dude, a guy who is not afraid of contact, a guy who just is going to be a red zone back, a guy who's going to punch the ball in. Does that not make sense to you that Jay Gruden had his finger all over this, just picking this guy out and saying, let's get that ball in the goddamn end zone, Jay Gruden, also there was an article about Scott McCloughan that came out and said he praises Jay Gruden for being a good talent evaluator. I believe the same, and that's why all of these offensive picks that we have, I like them all, and I think Jay Gruden, I think all of them scream Jay Gruden had his hand in all of that. And another thing is, I know I keep going off on these tangents real quick, but I've seen a lot of fans out there saying, oh, Bruce Allen, he had a sheet next to him that Scott McCloughan wrote down, and that's why our draft is so good, because Scott McCloughan, he paved the way for the draft and everything like that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say they didn't use what Scott McCloughan left for them. That was Scott McCloughan's job, but we need to get over Scott McCloughan, all right? He's gone now, and we need to give some credit to Bruce Allen and Jay Gruden, because I just explained to you, a lot of this shit that happened in this draft screams Jay Gruden, that he had his hand, he specifically chose these players. Now, Scott McCloughan, it's done with, man. We don't need to keep talking about it. The man's gone. We need to give some credit. Even if Bruce Allen sat there with a just sheet that Scott McCloughan just literally wrote out for him, we still need to give Bruce Allen some goddamn credit for not going somewhere, not veering off that chart that Scott McCloughan handed him, and he actually went through with the picks. He could have been dumb and did some dumb shit and went and got some other players that didn't make any goddamn sense. So give Bruce Allen some credit. I know we've all been hard on him and also just the entire organization, but you got to come around sooner or later. We had a good draft. A lot of people say we had a good draft, and Bruce Allen is the one who was ultimately sending the players the picks in, all right? So give him some credit. I know that's going to be hard for some people. It was hard for myself, but we need to get over the whole Scott McCloughan thing. The dude's gone. It sucks what happened. Whatever. Move on. So P. Ryan. I love P. Ryan, man. He's just if you watch his highlights, he's just bouncing off of players. As I said, I see him coming in on, short and goal, or if we need to punch the ball in for a 1-yard run, or we need, it's third and short or something. That's where I see P. Ryan stepping in this season. I do not see him taking over Rob Kelly's duties. I think Rob Kelly is a better all-around back. Some of the jump cuts, do you remember the jump cut that Rob Kelly made against the Green Bay Packers last year? Man, I mean, can P. Ryan do that? I don't know. I don't know if P. Ryan's juking fools like that. All right, so I think P. Ryan is a solid player. I think he's a really good talent for the 4th round pick. I think getting him in the 4th round, there's a lot of defensive help in this draft. That's why he fell down the board, and I'm glad that we picked him up. I love the P. Ryan pick. Let's move on to one of the biggest disappointments, which is Monte Nicholson, safety out of Michigan State. I like Michigan's, Michigan football is pretty solid, but I just don't see Monte Nicholson. Like I said, he is one of the guys who has, I forget his measurables. He's like 6'2" or something like that. He's pretty, he has all the measurables of a good safety. He's explosive at times, but the problem is he lacks the instincts. He lacks what the Alabama players lacked, which is being coached and taught right. And the issue I have with these picks, this Monte Nicholson pick, is he has a lot to learn, and I just don't, from our track record, I don't see us having a good track record with teaching safeties and developing safeties. That's why I wanted to move up and give up so much for Budda Baker. He has what it takes. the whole Kaishan Jarrett came in and performed because he had what it takes. Before we drafted him, he was taught well because he played in a good defense that had good defensive backs. He was taught well. He came into the NFL and played well for us. Monte Nicholson is a guy that I see us having to help produce him, and I don't think we're going to be able to do that because of our track record. So I just don't like the 4th-round pick on this guy. Now, I think he's going to come in and he's going to be a special teamer, and like we all know, he can run. He's got a good 40 time. He's got a big frame. He has all the measurables to be a good safety, but I just see him being a special teamer, and I think for the 4th-round pick, I think we could have gotten a little bit more value, and I think Nicholson would probably still be there. But I hope I'm wrong, man. I hope this kid comes in and just plays amazing. I hope I'm wrong. Let's move on to another Jay Gruden pick, straight up Jay Gruden pick. Jeremy Sprinkle, tight end out of Arkansas. And if you know anything about Arkansas football, they are nasty, especially on their offensive and defensive lines. They love to block. And if you remember my video, my draft video, where I took a video live of the 1st-round pick for Jonathan Allen, I sat there, and one of the things I mentioned, I said, who's left? Jonathan Allen, Reuben Foster, and hey, you know what? And Dalvin Cook, and hey, you know what? Maybe even O.J. Howard or the big tight end that went in the 1st round. I even mentioned his name. You know why? Because we don't have a blocking tight end. We don't have a tight end like Logan Paulson was for us, who is just going to come in straight up and just manhandle people. We don't have that on our roster right now. And this is a Jay Gruden pick where he got the best of both worlds. He picked out this guy, Jeremy Sprinkle, who is going to come in and he can block, and he also can catch the ball. This might be like a Niles Paul replacement. I see this guy. He's young. He's hungry. I love the pick. This is another pick that I love. We had a really good draft. So after Jeremy Sprinkle, in the 6th round, we go out. We get Chase Rollier, center out of Wyoming. Now this is something else that we needed. Ask any Redskins fan, what's our problem on offense? Either left guard or center. And this guy played guard and center in college, and I think, with so much defensive help in this draft, all the defensive players were going. I think this is a really solid player, and this is a guy who could potentially be starting for us, maybe not at the beginning of this year, but sometime during this year. If we have an injury or something like that, this guy could come in and play for us, and I think he's a really solid player. Yet again, another guy I think Jay Gruden straight up handpicked. The guy's big, he's powerful, but the first and foremost thing is he played guard and he played center. And in the NFL, you need a guy. If you played center, you've already played guard before. You've played both. So this guy, he's already got the experience in both situations. We all know left guard and center is our issues. I think if we can develop this guy quick enough, I think he might come in and he might play center, and I think we could move Spencer Long back to left guard, and I think that would be our ideal situation. The only problem with that is that now I feel like Spencer Long and Kirk Cousins might have, they might be on the same page right now, so we might not want to go and obviously throw a rookie into the mix and be center, but I think that would be our best option. We don't want to break up that chain of familiarity with Kirk Cousins and Spencer Long at center. But ideally, I think Spencer Long is best at left guard. I think he's got the size for it, and I think Chase, he can come in and play center for us. If not this year, maybe next year. Another solid pick. Jay Gruden handpicked. Then let's move to one of my favorite players that we got in the draft in the 6th round, Robert Davis. And this is a guy, another tall wide receiver. He's like 6'2", 6'2", like 4.40 or something like that. This guy just seems like a diamond in the rough. Like this is if you turn this guy's highlights on. Also another thing with the college that he went to, which was Georgia State. Apparently, I saw some other videos. Apparently, Georgia State had not a very good quarterback situation. So now, this guy showed a lot of talent at the wide receiver position, and he's got the size, and he's got the speed, and now he's going to have a real quarterback throwing him the ball the same way that we sit here and we look at, our new Terrell Pryor. Terrell Pryor didn't have a good quarterback throwing to him, and he had a really good season last year. I see the same thing coming from this guy. And if you see, there's a actual interview with Jay Gruden, and the guy asked Jay Gruden, out of all the draft picks this year that we have, who do you think is the draft pick that's going to surprise the most Redskins fans? And right away, he shot out Robert Davis. He's like, I think this kid is going to be something. I think this kid's got what it takes. I think he's gonna be the person that makes all the Redskins fans go, oh shit, look at that guy. And if you watch Louis T's video, he has a bold prediction where he says that our last draft pick, Josh Hoesley, cornerback, he thinks that he's gonna make the 53-man roster, and he's gonna take someone's spot at corner, and he's gonna make that roster, even though he's a 7th-round draft pick and he was injured at times or whatever. Which I also think we'll get down to him, but I agree with Louis T. I think the guy's a dog. I think he's a good player. But that was his bold prediction, is that somehow, some way, we're gonna find room for Josh Hoesley on this team. My bold prediction is Robert Davis is gonna come in and take somebody's spot. Robert Davis is gonna make the team. Robert Davis is either gonna come in and take Brian Quick's spot, or hey, maybe even Harris's spot. Damn it, what's his first name? Maurice Harris. He might even come in and take Maurice Harris's spot. He might take somebody else's spot. I see Robert Davis coming in and performing. I see him. I think he's ready, man. I watch this guy's highlights, and he might not be the best route runner, but he has what it takes to break away from defenders. He has what it takes to catch anything. I see Robert Davis coming in, and just like Jay Gruden said, turning heads. I really love this pick. Now let's get to the first 7th-round pick, Josh Harvey-Clemons, safety out of Louisville. Excuse me. This guy is almost 6 feet 5 inches tall. Is a really big guy. Another guy who has the same thing as Nicholson. Both these guys have the measurables. They both have the height, weight, speed. But this is another guy who I saw. A fan of Louisville made a video on YouTube showing some really, really bad highlights of Josh Harvey-Clemons, and this guy looks like he's stuck in the mud at times. This guy looks like he doesn't play like he's 6'5" at times. This guy doesn't seem like he's got the instincts to be what it takes. This is another guy where I see coming in, and he's going to be one of those special teamers. And at the 7th round, sure, you expect that. But for the 4th round pick, I think we could have gotten more value. But yet again, just like with Nicholson, I hope Josh Harvey-Clemons comes in and proves me wrong. I hope we desperately need someone to show up at the safety position. And if one of those two guys does it, I'll be very happy. And, I'll take back everything I said. But as of right now, these two safety picks, we're still left scratching our head at safety, in my opinion. So let's hurry up and wrap this up. It's kind of a long video. With our last pick in the 7th round, Josh Hoesley out of Auburn. This guy, like I said, this guy's a dog, man. His highlights have so many pass breakups, so many turnovers. This guy is a playmaker. This guy seems to make plays when there's a play that has to be made, and I agree. That is exactly why Louis T said this guy's going to make the roster, because when I watched his highlights, this guy makes plays when plays have to be made, and that's something that you just cannot. Nicholson, he's not that type of player. He doesn't have that type of film. This guy shows up in big time games. This guy shows up when he has to, and he makes turnovers, and he's around the ball, and he's physical. He doesn't have the size that Moreau has, but he's still physical. This guy, he might be fighting for a spot, and you know, might take away someone's spot right now. Who that could be, I'm not sure, but I love this pick as well. I like most of these picks, man. I think we'd had a really solid draft with 10 picks. We're much improved. We're gonna go into the draft, or we're gonna go into OTAs, and hopefully we see some shining stars out of these guys. Hopefully, we need these guys to show up too, though, man. Ryan Anderson, I saw a video of him saying that he hates being doubted, and all through his college career he was doubted and things like that, and it sucks. But guess what? He's kind of still doubted, man. From what I've seen, we still have to doubt him somewhat. So hopefully he uses that as motivation and makes plays like he made in college. The guy's a solid football player. I just, at the spot that we took him, I think there was more explosive players that were there to be had. But having these two Alabama players is great for us because, like I said, we don't have the best track record of teaching guys on defense. That's just not us. We are not raising guys amongst the ranks and, you know, teaching them to become Pro Bowlers and stuff like that. That's not us on defense. We're not doing that. So us getting those Alabama players, these are both of the guys. I've seen interviews with both of them, and both of them, for their age, they are grown-ass men. I absolutely loved what Ryan Anderson said in one of his interviews. He says something like, "I'm a grown-ass man, and I hold myself accountable, and I also hold all my teammates accountable for their doing their job on the defense, doing their job. I hold myself accountable, just like I hope they hold me accountable, and I hold them accountable. We're all men," and I love hearing him talk. He's a leader. So is Allen. I think they're both leaders. I think they're both going to play well. I see Ryan Anderson being even though I'm saying he's kind of reminds me of our outside linebacker. I already said it a million times. I'm drawing a blank now, but he's like him, but he's more physical. He will actually attack. He will actually get in someone's ass. Unlike our other guy, he will actually go out there and play super physical on every down and give something every single down. I just think he lacks the athleticism and the speed that he needs. But who knows? We'll see. I like Fabien Moreau, man. If Fabien Moreau comes in and he just becomes the player that we all think he can become, man, our defense is coming together. Now we just need someone to coach these guys up. We need a good defensive play caller. I think our offense, we still have a lot of question marks at offense. You know, that's why I love the Robert Davis pick so much, because although we did get, Terrell Pryor and, we got some other guys, I think it's great that we got Robert Davis, because this guy I think he's ready. I think he's NFL ready, man. If he works on some of those route running and stuff like that, he's shown that he can catch whatever. So we have a quarterback who can throw him whatever. So really solid draft. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think about the safeties? I think the safeties the two safety picks are by far the worst picks we had in the draft, and we're still sitting here just scratching our head on safety. Sure, we need those guys. We need special teamers, but I just think for the fourth round, we could have gotten more value than a guy who's just going to probably come in and be a special teamer. So let me know what you guys think. Hail to the Redskins as always. Peace out.